You've been driving the same routes for years, following the same rules, thinking you know what's legal and what isn't. You've done everything right. Your license is valid, your insurance is up to date, and you've always obeyed the traffic laws. But what if, starting this year, everything you thought was routine could suddenly land you in trouble? What if one simple mistake you never worried about before now carries fines, points, or even stricter consequences? That's exactly what's happening in 2026. Driving laws have just changed in ways that affect every driver, from daily commuters to long-haul travelers. And while some of these rules are minor adjustments, others completely reshape the responsibilities you have behind the wheel. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. Which of these new rules do you think will have the biggest impact on your daily driving habits, and why? Take a moment to type your answer, because your perspective matters, and we'll discuss it as we go through these updates. Let's start with the legal framework. Traffic laws in the United States are a combination of federal statutes, state regulations, and local ordinances. The federal government establishes overarching rules that govern road safety standards, vehicle requirements, and interstate commerce. States then implement these regulations locally, often adding additional layers, such as penalties, enforcement procedures, or specific operational rules for drivers. Courts would likely examine any enforcement disputes to ensure that both federal and state authorities act within their statutory authority and maintain consistency with constitutional protections, particularly the Fourth Amendment when it comes to vehicle searches and stops. Historically, traffic regulations have evolved in response to technological advancements, urban development, and public safety data. From the introduction of mandatory seat belts to speed limit adjustments and distracted driving laws, each new rule was designed to reduce accidents, save lives, and clarify responsibilities. In my legal analysis, the 2026 changes continue this trend, but with an increased emphasis on accountability, electronic monitoring, and stricter penalties for noncompliance. Some rules intersect with constitutional considerations. While the Second Amendment is not directly implicated, regulations related to carrying firearms in vehicles do intersect with both federal and state law. Courts would likely examine whether restrictions placed on drivers transporting firearms in their cars are consistent with historical precedent and the balance between individual rights and public safety. Similarly, Fourth and Fifth Amendment considerations arise in areas like vehicle searches, traffic stops, and enforcement procedures. Drivers retain rights against unreasonable searches, and due process protections apply when penalties or license suspensions are imposed. In my legal analysis, these protections are critical to understanding how enforcement will be applied fairly and consistently. The practical consequences for everyday drivers are significant. Some new rules may change the way you use your vehicle daily. For example, adjustments to electronic device usage, lane change requirements, or mandatory safety equipment. Courts would likely examine enforcement practices to ensure they are applied consistently, avoiding arbitrary penalties. For drivers, the legal risks of noncompliance are real. Fines, points on your license, increased insurance rates, or even temporary suspension. In my professional opinion, staying informed and compliant is the single most effective way to protect yourself from these risks. Political reality also matters. Supporters of stricter traffic laws argue that they save lives, reduce accidents, and improve overall safety on the roads. Critics may argue that overly complex rules create confusion, administrative burden, and unnecessary penalties for law-abiding drivers. Courts often balance these competing arguments when reviewing enforcement challenges or assessing the reasonableness of penalties. In my legal analysis, understanding both perspectives provides a clearer picture of how rules will be applied and interpreted in real-world scenarios. The long-term implications of these changes are clear. Increased electronic monitoring, data-driven enforcement, and stricter safety standards will continue to evolve. This isn't just about avoiding a ticket. It's about protecting your license, your driving record, and your ability to operate legally and safely. Knowledge, preparation, and proactive compliance are your best tools for navigating these changes successfully. Let's start with the first rule. In 2026, many states have strengthened restrictions on cell phone and electronic device usage while driving. This isn't just a suggestion. Failure to comply can result in fines and points on your license. In my legal analysis, this aligns with both state authority to regulate public safety and the federal interest in reducing distracted driving on interstate roads. Courts would likely uphold these rules because studies consistently show that even brief distractions can significantly increase the risk of accidents. For drivers, this means hands-free devices are no longer optional. They are essential. Ignoring this rule is a clear compliance risk. Rule number 2 involves mandatory use of advanced safety equipment in certain vehicles. This includes updated airbag systems, blind spot monitors, and lane assist technologies. Historically, vehicle safety regulations evolved gradually, starting with seatbelts and airbags, then moving to electronic monitoring. Courts have consistently supported the government's authority to mandate safety standards when they demonstrably reduce injury or death risk. Practically, drivers need to ensure their vehicles meet these standards or risk failing inspections, receiving citations, or even voiding insurance claims in the event of an accident. The third rule introduces stricter speed enforcement through automated monitoring systems, including cameras in construction zones and high-risk areas. While some drivers view this as intrusive, the constitutional framework allows states to enforce traffic regulations in the interest of public safety. Courts would likely examine whether speed limits are clearly posted and whether enforcement is applied fairly. In my legal analysis, consistent signage and public awareness are key factors in upholding enforcement. For drivers, this underscores the importance of vigilance and adherence to posted limits at all times, even in familiar areas. Rule number 4 addresses vehicle emissions and environmental compliance, particularly for trucks and hybrid vehicles. With increasing federal and state focus on reducing pollution, failure to maintain emission standards can now result in penalties. Historically, courts have upheld environmental regulations under the Commerce Clause, recognizing that states and the federal government can implement measures to protect public health. For everyday drivers, this means ensuring that inspections are up to date and that vehicles meet emissions standards, not just to avoid fines, but to avoid registration or operational restrictions. Rule 5 is about mandatory reporting of certain vehicle modifications. Modifying your car or truck without reporting or certifying the changes can now carry legal consequences. Courts have consistently supported reporting requirements when modifications could affect safety, roadworthiness, or emissions. In practical terms, if you've upgraded your suspension, tires, or engine performance, you need to ensure these changes are properly documented. Non-compliance can result in citations, failed inspections, or liability issues in case of accidents. Now we come to Rule 6, the one that surprises most drivers. In 2026, many jurisdictions are requiring drivers to update their defensive driving certifications or complete safety courses periodically. This isn't just bureaucratic. It's legally enforceable. Courts have historically supported mandatory education programs when tied to public safety outcomes. In my professional view, the goal is clear. Ensure that every driver maintains up-to-date knowledge on best practices, emergency responses, and traffic law changes. For drivers, this is the rule most often missed because it's easy to overlook renewal deadlines. Non-compliance could result in fines, points, or even temporary suspension. That's why Rule 6 is catching so many people off guard. Rule 7 involves new rules for lane usage and passing regulations, particularly on highways and multi-lane roads. States have updated these rules to reduce accidents and improve traffic flow. Courts generally support these regulations as reasonable exercises of state police power. For drivers, understanding the nuances of lane changes, passing zones, and merging procedures is critical to avoid penalties and ensure safe driving. Rule 8 affects ride-sharing and commercial drivers, who now have additional compliance obligations for insurance, licensing, and passenger safety. Historically, courts have upheld differentiated rules for commercial operations when public safety is at stake. For drivers in this category, staying compliant means regularly reviewing your operating licenses, insurance coverage, and reporting requirements. Failure to comply can result in suspension or revocation of your commercial privileges. Rule 9 introduces new penalties for reckless or aggressive driving, including enhanced fines and mandatory driver education programs. Courts have consistently recognized the state's authority to impose such penalties in the interest of public safety. From a practical standpoint, every driver must understand that behavior behind the wheel is monitored, and that aggressive driving, tailgating, unsafe lane changes, and excessive speeding can carry more severe consequences than before. Finally, Rule 10 involves data collection and vehicle monitoring by authorities, including the use of telematics and connected vehicle technologies. While this may raise privacy questions, courts have supported such measures when they serve public safety and are clearly regulated. In my legal analysis, transparency and adherence to procedural safeguards are key. For drivers, this means understanding what data may be collected, ensuring your devices comply with legal standards, and avoiding unintentional violations. Each of these rules has practical, real-world implications. For law-abiding drivers, compliance protects your license, your insurance status, and your personal safety. Ignorance of these changes is no longer a defense. Courts would likely examine cases involving non-compliance carefully, but the safest and most responsible approach is to stay informed, document compliance, and adhere to both the letter and spirit of the law. As we finish breaking down these 10 driving law changes, it's important to step back and understand the bigger picture. These rules aren't arbitrary. They're designed to increase safety, reduce accidents, and create a more predictable driving environment for everyone on the road. From updated electronic device restrictions to mandatory safety certifications and advanced monitoring, each change carries both legal and practical weight. In my professional opinion, the goal is clear. Informed, responsible drivers are safer drivers, and public compliance ensures the roads remain as safe as possible for all users. The long-term implications are significant. Technology will continue to shape traffic law enforcement. Electronic monitoring, vehicle telematics, and automated reporting systems will likely become more common. Courts will probably continue to support measures that enhance safety while balancing privacy concerns, procedural fairness, and due process rights. For drivers, staying proactive, keeping records, updating certifications, and following the rules is not just a legal responsibility. It's a professional strategy to protect your driving privileges, your safety, and your insurance status. Political reality also matters. Supporters of these changes emphasize that the rules save lives, reduce accidents, and protect the most vulnerable drivers, like teenagers, senior citizens, and pedestrians. Critics may argue that the laws create extra administrative burdens or overcomplicate compliance. In my legal analysis, both perspectives are valid. But courts have historically favored regulations that are demonstrably tied to public safety and are applied consistently. That means understanding and following these rules is the safest way to avoid legal risk. So what does this mean for you as a driver today? It means staying informed, staying disciplined, and taking responsibility for your compliance. Every log, every certification, every safety check matters. Ignoring these rules, even unintentionally, can carry fines, points, or other penalties. Following them isn't just about avoiding trouble. It's about protecting your career, your family, and everyone else on the road. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and like it so other drivers can access this critical information. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss our updates on driving laws, safety regulations, and compliance tips. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which new driving law surprised you the most and what topic you want our next video to cover. Should we go deeper into automated enforcement, defensive driving strategies, or the future of telematics in vehicles? Your input will shape our next content. Remember, knowledge isn't just power, it's protection. Being a responsible, informed driver today ensures that you stay safe, legal, and fully prepared for whatever changes come on the road tomorrow. Stay alert, follow the rules, and keep your journey smooth and worry-free. Now, as we fully wrap up, it's crucial to remember that these 10 driving law changes for 2026 aren't just about fines or penalties. They're about shaping safer roads, protecting lives, and ensuring that every driver is equipped with the knowledge to navigate evolving regulations responsibly. Each rule, from electronic device restrictions to mandatory defensive driving updates, carries both practical and legal significance. In my professional analysis, understanding these rules isn't optional. It's essential for every driver who wants to remain compliant, safe, and confident behind the wheel. The real-world impact of these changes is immediate. Following the rules protects your license, your insurance, and your driving record. Ignorance is no longer a defense. Courts would likely uphold enforcement in most cases where regulations are clear, fairly applied, and tied to public safety objectives. In my view, staying informed and proactive is the best strategy to reduce risk and ensure that you maintain full control over your driving future. Long-term, we can expect continued emphasis on technology-driven enforcement, more stringent compliance checks, and further refinements to traffic safety regulations. This is not a passing phase. It's the future of driving. By staying disciplined, documenting compliance, and keeping up with updates, drivers protect themselves while contributing to safer roads for everyone. So here's the bottom line. Know the rules, follow them meticulously, and treat these updates as an opportunity to become a more informed, responsible driver. Knowledge today is protection tomorrow. If you found this video valuable, make sure to like it to help other drivers stay informed. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss our updates on driving laws, safety tips, and compliance strategies. And I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me which of these 10 new driving laws surprised you the most, and also what topic you want our next video to cover. Should we dive into automated enforcement, lane safety strategies, or upcoming 2026 vehicle compliance regulations? Your input drives the content we create next. Remember, staying informed isn't just about avoiding fines. It's about safety, responsibility, and confidence every time you get behind the wheel. Stay alert, stay compliant, and keep your journey safe, legal, and stress-free.